I remember the night of my 21st birthday. That was the first time I died.
The Darkness series is one of the better, memorable, and overlooked series to merge during the 7th generation. The first Darkness is a fantastic game, a game that sticks with you long after the credits roll. The sequel, while a good game, is very much a sale game, one you buy on a Steam sale and have a few good hours with. Enjoyable, but nothing special. A sequel that's far more conventional and done by a different studio. It doesn't help that it ends with a huge cliffhanger that remains unresolved as of writing. In this video we'll dig into both titles, where they excel and where they falter. As well, since it's based on a comic series, we'll also take a gander at the comics.
Night is your master.
Some notes before diving into the first game. It's one of those unfortunate 7th generation titles that never received a PC release, something the sequel corrected. There was a period in the mid to late 2000s where this would occur. I've seen high piracy rates at the time as a given reason. Steam wasn't quite the juggernaut that it is now. I don't have a 360 or PS3 lying around, so the footage you see here is from Xenia, the 360 emulator. I did try out the PS3 version with an emulator. I found I got better performance with the 360 version. Plus, more fitting as back in the day I owned a 360. That said, it does have some lighting issues with emulation, like some lighting clipping through various sources, and it could get very shiny up close. The game has several color correction profiles to choose from. I was fiddling with this on the regular to find the best visuals. If you want to try the emulated 360 version, there is a patch to help with the lighting I'll provide in the description and pinned comment. I'll also note as of writing the script, Night Dive Studios has expressed interest in doing a remaster. Whether that will lead to anything, we'll have to wait and see.
Estacado! Oh, Estacado, come on, wake up, sunshine!
In The Darkness, we play as Jackie Estacado, a New York City gangster working for Uncle Paulie Franchetti. Today is his 21st birthday. Until with us are Mikey and Nino. We get some very efficient exposition of what's going on here. We're coming back from a botched job collecting money gone wrong. Uncle Paulie isn't going to be very happy. Mikey suggests we whack a construction site foreman, something Paulie wants done. Driving over, we're attacked by cops that are on Paulie's payroll. Jackie sure takes his time loading the shotgun here. Thank God during the game he doesn't reload at a snail's pace. This is an absolute batshit introduction and I love every second of it. The frantic driving, Nino and Mikey losing it. It's a great example of a more cinematic approach done right to establish the setting. It's too bad Nino and Mikey die right off the bat. With less than 5 minutes of screen time, they left a large impression with who they are.
Great, Mike. You're gonna kill us. I told you there was coming. I heard the sirens. Did I say I heard the sirens, Nino? You hear sirens in your sleep, Mike. You gonna shake these assholes or what? What's this? Yeah, you like that?
Oh, man, would you look at that? These pants cost me $400 to wet South. Now they got bloodstains all over them. Some fucking 21st birthday for you, huh? Here. I got you a present.
Thanks, Mikey.
Attaboy, Jackie. You look after those pieces and use them well.
I have to note Jackie's appearance here compared to the comics. There he's a ladies' man. Here he looks like that one quiet guy at the back of your high school class who you're not sure of what he may do someday. He reminds me of Your Movie Sucks guy in regards to his appearance. That's where the similarities stop. Jackie Estacado may have blood on his hands, but at least he isn't a furry.
Would a moose have sex with me if I gave it $10 million?
Well, that's a lot of money.
So, would it?
Well, I guess it would depend on the moose.
What follows after the car chase is a brief tutorial, getting a feel for the game combat. I love the text explaining execution moves. When real close is classic New York dialect. Paulie leaves a nice present for us, which Jackie escapes in the nick of time. During a loading screen, Jackie talks about his issue with how Polly handles things with the family. I love how these loading screens serve as a nice exposition dump from Jackie. They do the heavy lifting in regards to fleshing out the world, what's going on, and the backstory. They add plenty of personality.
Anyone who says the subway is dangerous never sat in the back of a yellow cab, going the wrong way, at 90 miles an hour, through the Midtown Tunnel, with a guy who can't speak a lick of English, my buddy, Crazy Abdul.
There's a mysterious voice we hear, an unknown factor.
Darkness will fall.
It's leaving the cemetery where this unknown voice reveals who it is, the darkness within Jackie.
Through you, I am born.
And now we're off to the races. The game begins proper now that we have access to the powers of the darkness. So how do these powers of the darkness work? Well, stay out of the light, Jackie. You're going to be spending a good chunk of time shooting or knocking out lights with your tentacle. In the light, the darkness loses its energy. In the dark, it will replenish. Devouring the hearts of fallen foes will also replenish our energy. The further you progress and the more hearts you devour, the more powerful you'll become and unlock further abilities. I have to note it's amusing that only your right darkness head is the one to pick up hearts. Sometimes they'll share it with the left, but never does the left get the only taste. Poor left head. He's like the left shark, trying his best to keep up. Something they changed in the sequel so the left head doesn't feel left out. In the sequel's case, the right head gets the scraps. I guess he had his fill here. One cool ability is taking control of one of the heads to slither around. You can move through vents, climb up walls, and get the drop on enemies.
Over there!
Some later sections have environmental puzzles where you creep around to bypass obstacles. Something that the game could have made more use of than it does. I have to know it's sometimes difficult to creep around. Moving from surface to surface can be a bit awkward. It can be a bit finicky in trying to get through a small opening. You could use a tentacle to stab enemies, but it's a great way to clear out light sources. Faster than using a gun and doesn't use up ammo. You could use the darkness to summon darklings. You have up to 4 different kinds you could summon. Berserkers are up close and personal with a knife. The gunner makes use of a minigun. Kamikazes go boom within range of a target. Last is the Light Killer, the Darkling that will destroy light sources, as well as being the arch nemesis to Linkaro's the Lightbringer.
Don't you talk about me, you son of a bitch!
Who said that? What is that?
It's
What
me,
is that?
the Lightbringer!
These are some of the more memorable summons I've come across in the game. Yes, they're handy in combat, but nothing that you can't handle yourself. It's the humor they provide. While the game is more bleak than the comics, some of the comic humor carries over from the Darklings. They were the main source of humor in the comics. What makes them so memorable? Your Darklings love to take a leak on the corpses of your fallen foes. What other games have summons that do that, beyond the sequel?
This, you asswipe.
The best ability of all is the last one we unlock, a black hole to clear out obstacles and enemies. This is very much the press button to win attack. It's got a good sized range.
Yes, sir.
It drains your darkness meter in full, but at this point you have a handle on things. And once you do, it's a great little system that's more than only running and gunning. You could go with the old run and gun approach, although the game does incentivize you to not do so outright. You'll die fast without using the darkness, which offers extra protection from damage. Of course, a hit will drain it further, so it might prevent you from using a darkness ability until you replenish it. You could do this by devouring hearts or staying in the darkness. One other ability we can unlock is the darkness guns. I didn't find much use for these. Guns themselves are fun. The issue is when you have these selected, you can't use any other of your powers. If you use a normal gun, you can at least use your selected darkness power at the same time. While using the darkness, we have darkness vision mode, which you'll need if you want to see in the darkness. And you want to be in the dark to get the most use of your powers. From gameplay and narrative perspective, it works well. Stay in the darkness, shoot out the lights. Creep up on goons for a kill. The game can get pretty creative with these offerings and how they bounce off one another. As a result, there are more factors to consider in combat than your typical shooter. This does make up for the shooting itself, which can feel a bit floaty. As well, the enemies aren't the smartest. If you're in the dark, it's very much a power trip. That's fine, you're dead meat in a heartbeat without the darkness. I have to note Jackie's odd walking pace. There is no sprint button. It's like they forgot to boost his walk speed by about 20% or so. The later sections of the game open up combat-wise. More abilities on hand, but more roadblocks. Some enemies come packed with lights for you to deal with, something the sequel would make more prominent. Of course, we can't talk about using the darkness without its voice. And what a voice it is.
Human misery, suffer, disease of the mind and heart, festers here. It's a good place to die.
Provided by Mike Patton, one of the most versatile vocalists around. It's funny though, Faith No More and Mr. Bungle should be right up my alley, but I can never quite get into them. Respect the hell of his voice though. I have to wonder at what point in development they thought, hey, we should get the singer from Faith No More. It seems like something that would happen when the team was out having drinks after work. Someone mentioned it as a laugh, and someone decided to follow through with it.
Ordinary Joe, pointless maggots.
This wasn't the only game he was appearing in around this time frame. He also appeared in Portal. I have to wonder if they ever considered getting the singer from the band The Darkness to do the voice. That said, I don't think high falsetto would be the right choice. I also have to note Jackie's initial reaction to the darkness. Call him a somewhat silent protagonist. During combat stretches, he's silent. While the darkness will talk with him, he's silent. He talks when he initiates dialogue with others or when he talks during loading screens. This does make the handling of how he deals with the darkness a bit odd at first. But hey, you know what? That's okay. Writing the script as of 2023, we've had a year with several egregious cases of the main character getting too chatty with her companion. See Atomic Heart or Forspoken. Granted, this was 2007, still several years before the dreaded Marvel and Borderlands style dialogue plagued games.
Did I just do that?
Well, definitely with my assistance.
I did not just do that.
We did.
The darkness takes place in small sections of New York City, with a couple of subway stations serving as hubs. Interesting to use the subway here to get around. No way in a million years would Jackie from the comics do so. If you played Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, another Starbreeze title, it has a similar structure. If you want, you can wander off to wherever you want, although there won't be much there. You can find several side quests along the way. Most come from those we come across at the subway station. Some are pretty straightforward, like walking about 20 feet to threaten some tough guy to let the man with the harmonica play in peace.
Thanks, son. I never would say this to no one, but you got a good heart.
Some involve you heading to other sections to take out some goons. There's one side quest where a woman makes a bet with you. Get the coin she tossed onto the tracks before a train hits you? What's this lady's problem?
That was a thrill.
You can have things turn into a Bethesda game with how NPCs try to interrupt your conversations.
Mystery man, huh? Well, you sure made some waves, son. The Chicago boys are considering pulling the plug on your dear old Uncle Paulie.
And while the streets aren't flooded with people, it nails that New York City atmosphere. Even though I've never been to that city, I know it through osmosis, other forms of media, other games like Max Payne or Deus Ex. It nails that gritty feel with the subway stations and wandering the streets. Very calming, even if for a brief stretch. One fun element of the darkness is collecting phone numbers to call. You'll find collectibles out in the world, or from completing side quests. Some of these are pretty amusing to listen to and do a great job helping with world building. You could tell the writers and voice actors had a lot of fun with these.
I need help. I can't stop drinking. You know, I'm drunken. Drinking.
is Paint the Fates Dry Cleaning and Laundry Service. We remove all kinds of stains from your rugs. Blood, brains, teeth, or any combination thereof. And we laundry stuff too.
Welcome to the Emergency Call Center. For personal assistance, press 1. If you're on fire, press 2. If someone is trying to stab you, press 3. If someone is already stabbing you, press 4. If you've been stabbed and you're currently bleeding to death, press 5. If you are stabbing someone, press 6. For everything else, press 7. Thank you, and have a nice day.
There are phone numbers you could find on signs or on the streets that you could dial manually. This Keeper of Secrets offers more and more hints the more numbers you call.
All right. Whoever you are, I want to congratulate you for being persistent and daring enough to call me the Keeper of Secrets. Keep your eyes open. Call in if you find more numbers. Maybe I'll tell you a secret.
I didn't find all the numbers, which turns out to be about 35. I fell well short. Looking it up, the revelation is that there's a secret society that covers up Elvis being an alien. I love it when games do things like this. Small little details add up to a memorable experience. Speaking of memorable, one of the more memorable moments is spending time with Jenny Romano, Jackie's girlfriend. They grew up in an orphanage together. She has some ideas, but doesn't know about the life Jackie lives. The one he became a part of when he was adopted by Polly Franchetti.
He never worried about stuff like that before. He's been upset plenty of times. What exactly do you do for your Uncle Polly anyway? Why won't you tell me?
I'm a nobody. Take out the garbage.
You're a bad liar, Jackie Estacado.
There's a stretch where you go to her new apartment in Chinatown for Jackie's birthday. You have a tender moment of the two snuggling up with Jenny falling asleep as we watch To Kill a Mockingbird. If you want, you can watch the entire movie. This is one of the few genuinely sweet romantic moments in the game. One of those moments people have never played the game know about. It's such a simple, understated, memorable bit. Nothing fancy, the mundane nature of everyday life. Watching a movie with the one you love all cuddled up as they fall asleep on you. You don't see many games go with this route with romance. Compare this to, say, Baldur's Gate 3, which is of writing as a notable recent release. It has that common BioWare style of romance. The one where everyone wants to bang you. The one where you pick the right dialogue options and then bang. And then afterward, they act like nothing ever happened beyond a few dialogue lines. So this is such a stark contrast. One is the fact that they're already in a relationship, and how they present this relationship is the other factor. In such a short amount of screen time, I'm invested in Jenny and this relationship she has with Jackie. You want to see things go well for them, which, well, we'll get to that shortly. On the note of TVs, one of the other great details about The Darkness is flipping through the channels. You get several music videos along with old films and shows you could watch. The Man with the Golden Arm, Flash Gordon. They go a long way in helping build out the atmosphere and charm that The Darkness provides in droves. Let's continue on with the major beats of the story that continue after visiting Jenny's apartment, so spoilers ahead. One comic book character we encounter is Butcher Joyce. When you want a body disposed of, he's your man.
Can't you people make your hits at a reasonable time of the day, huh? You know, they told me there was only one body to dispose of. Supposed to be one of those dealers from the alley.
But he doesn't take sides and won't go against Polly at the moment. The cops are on us now, Eddie Schroetz's boys. A connection with the police force that Polly has at his disposal. You know, of all the times he decides to kill Jackie, doing so once the darkness emerges is some bad timing on his end. And in a heinous action, Polly gets his goons to blow up the orphanage, the one he and Jenny grew up in. There is a growing dissent within the family about Polly. They don't agree with the direction that he's taking the family.
Listen, Jimmy. Now you know out of respect, I would never do anything like that unless you guys gave the word. If I make a move, will you keep an eye on Jenny?
Jackie, like she was my own flesh and blood, I swear to God. Just kick the fuck out of them. You hear me? Kick the fuck out of them.
We head to the remains of the orphanage for a trip down memory lane. Throughout, we see several flashbacks of Jenny and Jackie that are quite sweet. One's from their time at the orphanage.
Now you're my boyfriend, Jackie. R2.
Although flashback Jackie bearing resemblance to Nicolas Cage did throw me off a bit. Up until now, we've been tearing out the hearts of enemies. Now it's the game's turn to tear your heart out. The darkness takes full control of Jackie.
That's you, my puppet.
We can't do anything but watch as Uncle Polly and Eddie Schroet hold Jenny hostage. And what follows is one of the most brutal, heart-tearing moments I played in the game. I'm going to let this scene play out.
You were my blood, Jackie. I loved you like a son, and you took from me. You stole my respect, and you stole my trust. And when blood takes from blood, someone always pays. So now, I take from you.
Jackie, this is not your fault.
Clean it,
Oh, what did they do to Jenny? See what a burden this is, freedom. Where are you going? Jackie, this is not your time.
And now we have an answer to how Jackie died for the first time. I can't say enough great things about this scene. Killing the loved one of a protagonist is a common trope in storytelling, to get us to hate the villains even more, to raise the stakes. That said, it's a common crutch or shortcut that writers use to get us to care but can fall flat. Not here. It's incredible how efficient the darkness is with its storytelling. As I mentioned during the intro scene, how much the game gets across the personalities of Mikey and Nina within 5 minutes before they die. In a short stretch, the darkness has done a wonderful job of fleshing out the relationship between Jackie and Jenny. So when her death does occur, it's an absolute punch to the gut. This isn't a long game. Jenny's death occurs within the first couple of hours, but in a very short amount of time, the game did the legwork of earning this moment. And it doesn't feel cheap how the game wrestles control away from you at this moment. We're at the whims of the darkness. It wants to rid the one thing, the one person that grounds Jackie, so he can have total control and be his puppet. What follows is a trip to World War I. Is this hell? Later on, Jackie decides it's within the mind of the darkness. We deal with some zombie soldiers through these trenches before we meet some friendly faces. I'm glad one of them points out Jackie's fashion choices, a bit out of place from this time frame.
Is that standard issue uniform for you Yanks then?
It's here we meet Anthony Estacado, Jackie's great-great-grandfather. It was Anthony who brought the darkness into the family. We get an info dump about the darkness, or at least his understanding of it. It needs a male host, it passes down through the firstborn and emerges on their 21st birthday.
Why did it bring me here? It needs its human host to stay alive. Somehow you broke the rules, Jackie. You died before your time. The darkness has to keep you here while it puts you back together. It won't allow you to die.
It's during this stretch we receive the darkness guns. It's another nice moment with Jackie showing what hope means to him.
Do you know the word of hope?
Jenny.
Use the weapons wisely, or the darkness will consume your soul.
With some further progress, we return to the real world and go see Aunt Sarah. She is the widow of Jimmy Franchetti, a passed Don of the family.
Aunt Sarah. I lost her. And what the hell am I gonna do without Jenny?
It's terrible. I cleaned out her apartment. She was waiting for you, Jackie. Anyone but you could see it. Oh, you should have taken her away from this place when you had the chance. And now you've got to take care of it.
She tells us to go round up the older members if we want to deal with Uncle Polly. But first, we have to deal with the corrupt police captain, Eddie Schroet. What follows is a long assault and a chase involving a helicopter, but Eddie is still able to get away. This requires a different approach, which leads us to the Turkish baths. Here we need to get a suitcase full of evidence that could put both Polly and Eddie away. This section is my favorite stretch of the game. It slows down with combat and has more environmental puzzles using the darkness powers to progress, making use of creep to remove obstacles and roadblocks. Although as noted earlier, the way creep handles isn't the smoothest, most notable when you want to move up a wall from the ground or the other way around. Some areas of this game come close to going down the road of an immersive sim. You have the hub worlds, the way some of the darkness powers work and how they interact with the environment. It's not quite to the point of giving you several possible solutions for moving forward, but it is something similar to that style. With the briefcase in hand, we meet up with Butcher Joyce to plant an explosive within. He's dropped the impartial act due to the actions of Uncle Polly.
Like clockwork. You're setting the rules now, Jackie. You decide when and where you meet Eddie. Just be careful. He didn't get this far in life by being stupid.
We meet with Eddie Schroet at the church to give him back the briefcase. In a poor initial choice, he cuts the power, thinking he'll get the drop on us.
Kendall, turn off the lights.
But Eddie is a sharp man and realizes his mistake, turning the floodlights on. Dealing with enemies who realize how our powers work is something that the second game would make heavy use of. With the heavy use of light, Eddie captures Jackie. The briefcase is out of reach at the moment. We can't use the darkness. So tied up, we taunt Eddie's goons to stand right in front of the only major light source present. Very poor choice on their part, as the darkness grows stronger. And this is where you could see the amusing lighting glitch with the 360 emulator of the light shining through people.
Come over here. Lights in my eyes. I need some shade.
You caused us a lot of trouble, Estacado. You know how long it's gonna take to repair all that damage you've done?
Dark bliss.
This allows us to activate the darkness, set off the briefcase, and die a second death.
No, stupid puppet.
And that was the second time I died.
With that, we return to the trenches within the mind of the darkness. We're coming to take control away from it. This second stretch is a letdown compared to the first time through. It's more condensed and includes a turret section. It's here that Anthony finally meets his death in a nice scene. The darkness does not take kindly to either of them and is not happy with Jackie's decisions.
Hey, kid. I think I got it. That thing about the light and the darkness. You know what that means?
Do not interfere. Will prevail.
There's a lot of talk here about hearts, light, and darkness. Gives Kingdom Hearts a run for its money. Face to face with the darkness, Jackie accepts it. We're in control, for the time being as we return to the real world.
Don't. No! Cannot! Must not!
Polly has gone to hiding as he realizes the situation brewing around him. We need to find him. There's a notable stretch at Aunt Sarah's home where we have to hold off Polly's goons for several minutes. During this bit, we can't use our darkness powers. It's something I wish the game did more of at points. Taking away those key powers, even if only for a short stretch, can ramp up tension and roadblocks. Within Aunt Sarah's house, we have helping hands with dealing with the goons. One thing I haven't mentioned up until now is how if you're focused on a key character or talking with them, their name shows up on the screen. But there's this fascinating character who gets no name in Aunt Sarah's. He's in the bedroom. The only limb left is his right arm. Never says a word. Instead, he loads pistols to provide us with ammo. He seems to have the infinite gun cheat like Joshua Graham from New Vegas. We learn that Uncle Polly's at a lighthouse where he's built a mansion. We head over by boat, but it's light by the time we get there. Seems like a poor choice. But there's been mention of an eclipse coming, and it hits at the exact right moment.
Kill them all, so go to dog.
This is very much a power trip section heading up to the mansion to deal with Polly. There are several stretches here where the darkness takes full control. We'll sit and watch its trail of destruction. And with the way the narrative works, it never feels like it's cheating taking control away from the player. There are no cases of cutscene incompetence.
No, I shove you
What's also interesting here is if you try to turn your powers off. Darkness turns them back on, a nice little bit showing that you've lost control. Within the mansion, there's no major hurdles or challenges. Polly is like any other goon. It doesn't feel like a cop-out or the game robbing you of catharsis of a big final moment. The death of Polly, the darkness takes full control. But that's not all. We get one final tender moment with Jenny, an emotional, heartbreaking scene to cap off the first game.
There's always a little light in the darkness. Didn't I tell you so, sweets?
Jenny?
We get one moment, Jackie. It's all they can allow.
What? Who?
Just one moment. Just to say goodbye.
You were everything to me. And all I ever did was kill you. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I can't forgive you, Jackie. How can I forgive you when it wasn't your fault? You have to go now.
I don't want to go. I want to stay here with you.
I know.
Am I dreaming?
Yes. You have to wake up now.
Now that I give it some thought, there are only a few games that could top the emotions that the darkness can deliver. The last moment between them gets pretty close to the feelings and emotions a title like Silent Hill 2 was able to deliver. It's a great achievement that deserves more recognition for what it's able to do. And so closes off The Darkness, a fantastic title, one of the better titles from the 7th generation. Released during a year considered one of the best years for gaming, 2007. A sequel would come, but almost 5 years later and from a different studio. But before we cover the sequel, let's take a look at some of the comics. For this video, I read the original run, which ran from December 1996 to August 2001 for 40 issues. I read the second run, which ran from December 2002 to November 2005 for 24 issues. Finally, I read The Darkness, Levels, a 6-issue run that tied in with the game. There's more afterwards, but Paul Jenkins, the writer of both games, wasn't involved. There are spoilers throughout here, so giving a heads up now. For the original run, it's very much the quintessential dark, edgy comic book I was expecting it to be. Very much a product of the late 90s and early 2000s. The time frame when most of pop culture focused on men from the ages of 18 to 35. I read an interesting blog post that called this period of the early 90s to late 2000s the vulgar wave. Back when things were much better in the world. Everything about The Darkness fits this to a T, from the dialogue to the art style, women with large chests and long legs. It's bold, it's brash, it's dumb, it's dark, but doesn't take itself too seriously, but never lacks sincerity, and I loved it. When it comes to the games, more elements come from the early stretch of the second run. Paul Jenkins, the game writer, wrote the tail end of the first run and about the first third of the second run. The game is far more grounded and falls more in line with the second run. It's more focused on the mob aspects. In the first run of comics, there's a lot more going on in the supernatural realm. There are many more factors and factions at play. One is the Angelus, a ruler of the light that's opposed to darkness since the dawn of time. Instead of a male host, the Angelus uses a female host. You have the Witchblade, a comic series that the darkness spun off from, part of the trifecta balancing the darkness and Angelus. You have the Magdalena, women of Christ descending from Mary Magdalene fighting the darkness. There's the Brotherhood of Darkness, who seeks to control the host of the darkness to shape the world in their vision. There's a lot going on here, each with different goals and conflict with others. Like the games, the Darklings are the main source of the comic's humor. They're total goofballs with pop culture references, like one mentioning that they killed Lenny in a nod to South Park before throwing poop at their foes. The game made adjustments so the Darklings are better suited for the game without losing that comic relief. Jackie and Jenny still both come from the same orphanage, but in the comics, they're not in a relationship. While Jenny has feelings for Jackie, she sees her more like a sister. Jenny works at a bar where Jackie loves to pick up women, and women are all over him. He's very much a ladies' man here. Jackie has a lot of money and flash, far different than the more humble Jackie we play in the first game.
I never felt like I needed much. Place to sleep, food and drink, maybe a piece for protection. I need a cannon shell, need a little hope. I need to know why the darkness is lying to me.
He convinces one model that he could get her a walk-on part on The Simpsons. He lives on the 69th floor. But with his 21st birthday and the darkness emerging, this is going to cause problems with his sex life. If he impregnates someone, he'll die and the darkness will pass on to his child. That's what happened to his father and those before him. This revelation is one of the funniest ends to a comic issue I've seen, with one guy yelling at his underlings that they have to stop Jackie from having sex. This causes issues for Jackie, of course, who attends a sex addict session in a funny bit. Instead of Polly Franchetti adopting Jackie like in the game, it's Don Frankie Franchetti, Polly's cousin, who adopted him. When Polly adopted Jackie, he had no idea about Jackie's powers that would one day come to fruition. It was a coincidence. The leader of the Brotherhood of Darkness convinced Frankie to adopt Jackie, telling him about his powers that would one day emerge. Things get personal when the Angelus enters into Jackie's own adopted family. His adoptive sister, the daughter of Don Frankie, wishes to become the Angelus to get revenge on her father and take over the family. Frankie put her mother into comatose state many years ago. But in a bit of irony, her mother becomes the next Angelus, and she ends up in a catatonic state for some time. And it turns out Jackie has a twin sister, Capri, separated at birth. The darkness only resides in men, but due to being his twin, she has part of it within her. Jackie turns on Uncle Frankie after visiting Gotham City during a crossover issue with Batman. Jackie enters the Witness Protection Program in exchange for giving testimony against his uncle. But after vanishing, Frankie is set free and sends a tape to Jackie of him shooting and killing Jenny. Coming to give himself up, Jackie ends up taking down Uncle Frankie, his goons, and himself with a gasoline-lit warehouse and dies. So ends the first run. I enjoyed my time reading it, although there are various plot lines that drop. The most notable is Jenny seeming to move on with her life before getting sucked back into the world of Jackie. She meets and falls in love with Ripclaw, getting engaged to him. He has the power to enter other astral planes. He helped Jackie's sister Capri control her powers. They team up to deal with a newfound threat, and right after that, Frankie kills Jenny. The second run didn't grab me as much. It drops a lot of the humor from the original and becomes a bit too dark and grim at times. It's what I appreciate about the original run. It was dark, it was violent, but there was a lot of tongue-in-cheek to bounce out in a way I found endearing. There's a whole batch of funny, edgy lines in the original run, like one minion of the Angelus telling Jackie she's going to slice up his ribs like he's on a piano, or Jackie interrupting a goon having a massage, telling him he's going to rub him out of existence, or Jackie telling someone that they're so dead that he doesn't know why they bothered being born. Now, to be fair with the loss of Jenny, Jackie comes to terms with how much he loved her. Her death hangs heavy over the story. The darkness and darklings are more at odds with Jackie here, trying to take full control of him, or not showing up when he needs them the most. That said, it's not like there's no humor at all in the second run. One highlight is an issue of Jackie trying to take out a bumbling hitman who has a strong family ties. But no matter what happens, this hitman always ends up with blind dumb luck getting out of hopeless situations. I haven't seen someone with this much dumb luck since Darkside Phil. You could overhear some goons talking about this hitman during the game.
Polanco drives up, leans out the window, yells out to Timmy, and opens fire on the outdoor tables.
Could be a sitting target out there. I guess Timmy bought the farm, huh?
No. Polanco was at a completely different restaurant on the wrong side of the street.
With Frankie gone, Uncle Paulie, Frankie's cousin, enters the fold. He takes charge of the family, but only for a brief time before Jackie kills him and takes charge of the family. Aunt Sarah makes an appearance, although she's known as Miss Sarah, and she's off her rocker, on the frayed ends of sanity. Jackie intends to kill Uncle Paulie right away and be the head of the family, but then Uncle Paulie lays down his trump card. Jenny has a sister. Uncle Paulie will get his goons to kill her if Jackie doesn't cooperate. Yeah, this felt like an ass pull. They already did the whole have a sibling that they don't know about with Jackie's twin sister. Doing it again feels lazy. Plus, Jackie finds her location in short matter and takes out Uncle Paulie, so it feels unnecessary. For the first game, there was a 6-issue comic run called The Darkness Levels. It gives more insight into how Anthony Estacado, Jackie's great-great-grandfather, whom we come across during the game, came into the power of the darkness during World War I. There is a great line from the darkness, saying that he's not the devil, he's its teacher. The plot more or less plays out the same as the game, with some minor differences. Instead of killing her at the orphanage, Uncle Paulie kills Jenny at her apartment. The foes we come across in Hell get a much larger role, with some interesting backdrops. But otherwise, all the major beats are here. With that, let's move on to the sequel, The Darkness 2. There are 3 major comic elements that now enter the fold. 1, Jackie now being the boss of the family. 2, the Brotherhood enters the fold. And 3rd, the Angelus makes her presence known.
The darkness is, well, dark. The Angelus is light. Darkness wants chaos. Angelus wants order. Darkness needs a male host. Angelus needs a female. Guess that kind of explains why they've been fighting for, well, forever, I guess.
Female?
Yeah, you know, boobs, pocketbook, shoes, female. I gotta draw you a picture?
The Darkness 2 is a good game, at times a great one, but falls short of what the original was able to achieve. Very much a Steam sale kind of game. One you pick up, have fun with for a few hours. A good experience, but nothing like the original. Nothing that ever gets that level of, wow, this is a fantastic game. One notable change for The Darkness 2 is the developer itself. Instead of Starbreeze, Digital Extremes developed The Darkness 2. They've been around since the early 90s. They co-developed the Unreal series with Epic Games. Today, they're best known for Warframe. What happened with Starbreeze? While full of talent, they're one of the many studios that suffered from financial struggles, publisher shenanigans, and questionable leadership. One example includes a higher up on the publisher's end intending to cancel Escape from Butcher Bay altogether. That didn't go through, but this resulted in the cancellation of the PS2 version. Despite its reputation as a quality studio for licensed games, Starbreeze wanted to make its own original IPs. One former developer said Starbreeze viewed The Darkness and Riddick as a means to an end. Deliver a quality game that would give them more leverage in the future for their own IP. There was an interest on the studio's end to make a sequel to The Darkness. Working on Syndicate saw them get into bed with EA. In 2009, the founder of Starbreeze and several senior staff left to form Machine Games. ZeniMax would bring them under the fold, releasing several Wolfenstein titles and as of writing are developing an Indiana Jones game. Having The Darkness go from one developer to another is a huge change. Yes, people come and go at studios, but many elements of the culture will be passed down through the studio, like design philosophy. The design philosophy of Starbreeze led to games like The Darkness and Escape from Butcher Bay. Games that I find most others can't scratch that certain itch. There's something about the way Starbreeze designed these games, their je ne sais quoi factor. Digital Extremes didn't try to replicate the formula. Instead, they took in a more conventional FPS direction. And hey, that's fine. They have a history of quality work with that genre, and there is a lot to enjoy about The Darkness 2. It's a well-made game, but it's a step down from what made the original so special. It has its moments, but it's unable to recapture the magic.
Go no further.
One notable change right off the bat are the visuals. The Darkness 2 goes for a graphic noir style, pulling heavy influence from the comics. Like cel-shaded graphics, but not quite. The team went through by hand to get the look right, which took a long time. End result is a style that's aged very well. While different than the comics look, the end result is a distinct, memorable style. As well, the proportion of the bodies, especially the heads, remind me of Dishonored. It looks great when you're talking with someone. During gameplay, it could be a bit more hit and miss. There are some visual clarity issues, but that doesn't only lie in the visuals. The more frantic gunplay has a factor in it. The Darkness 2 takes a different approach to its gunplay. More conventional, more frantic. It has some good ideas in execution, but in other areas the execution's a bit spotty. It adds several new elements, but takes many away at the same time, for better or for worse. One thing to know is the left head gets fed this time around. Must have been starving after the right head only gave it scraps in the original. Instead of having a separate gun for the Darkness guns, activating this power will apply the Darkness to your current gun. A good solution to the issue I had with the original. One bummer is the lack of creep ability. No longer can you take one of the heads to move around to scout out the area. Levels are far more straightforward. Which isn't a bad thing, but to remove one of the more interesting powers is a disappointment. You could use one of your tentacles to slash enemies, stun them, and open them up for a grab for an execution. The execution system is one of the better new additions to the gameplay. Through a more conventional upgrade system, you can decide what your executions will do. Replenish your health, get more ammo, replenish your darkness powers at a faster rate, get a shield. The choice is yours when you have them at your mercy. I enjoy this feature, but the issue is the length of executions. They're not long by any stretch, but for something that you're using on the regular, they could have chopped them down in length. You could use tentacles to grab objects for throwing. Use them to impale or behead your foes. You can't lift cars anymore, but you can grab a car door for a shield. As well, you could chuck them at enemies when you wish to part with it. The Darklings return. Well, Darkling, singular. No more deciding between 4 possible Darklings to use in a given scenario. He has a fondness for calling Jackie Monkey.
Hello, Monkey! Right on time. Come on, let's go even up the score.
He helps with adding humor, but not to the extent of the original. At least he still pisses on enemies. Plus, you can unlock an upgrade in which you could chuck your Darkling at enemies for a laugh. There are a few points throughout the campaign where we'll control the Darkling in the dreaded 4 stealth sequence. At least they're short and don't veer into frustrating territory. The black hole returns, and while it's still the press button to win attack, they made a reasonable compromise. Once you unlock it, sometimes an enemy will drop one on death. You can't use it at will with your darkness energy. This led to amusing scenarios where I'd clear out a room and the last foe would drop one, where I'd find one afterward. Reminds me of playing Quake. I'd always seem to find the quad damage power up when no one's around. One decision I don't agree with here is having limited weapons to swap out. In the original, you could hold as many as you want. This is the issue where visual clarity can rear its ugly head. Picking up a gun is the same button as devouring a heart. I had several deaths which didn't need to happen if I devoured the heart, my intended action, instead of swapping for a gun. Devouring a heart can be enough to make the difference between life and death. With so much happening on screen when you have to make a snap decision, these kind of moments can drag a game down. The way lights work in the Darkness 2 have changed. They do suit the more frantic pace of combat, but work in a way that wasn't as enjoyable as the first. Enemies are more prepared this time around. We'll have many lights bearing down to stop us. They might use flashbangs to take the darkness out of the equation. And they drain your powers like that. The light that shines on you deprives you of your power in an instant. Some lights you can not destroy whatsoever in a bizarre move. This would take me out of the game to a certain extent. Your darkness powers work on a cooldown instead. You're getting rid of lights to ensure you could keep using your powers instead of replenishing them. You can shorten the cooldown with further upgrades or executions. Still, the game is less about taking out lights to get the drop on enemies. It's a different direction that I didn't find as enjoyable as the first. The Darkness 2 does enough with its gameplay systems to stand out from other shooters. And while it has tighter gameplay compared to the first, I couldn't help but feel let down with some of these switches. I prefer the more meticulous combat of the original, one in which you could scout out ahead of time, one in which the lighting system felt in sync with our options. It all worked well with one another. While there is more available here, there's also noticeable absences. Not everything works as well together as a cohesive unit. It comes close, but isn't as well executed. Which is too bad, because there are some welcome changes. There's still plenty of fun to be had with the combat, but you can tell it falls just a bit short of being great. But it sure comes close, which makes it frustrating. One of the biggest letdowns of the Darkness 2 is the removal of the hub world. Between most levels, we'll head back to our crib. There are some fun conversations to listen in on, but there's not a lot to do here. There's no side quests. Now, it's not like the Darkness side quests were anything to write home about, but that hub structure played a large factor in the game's feel. It helped it stand out. That's all gone. There are no phone numbers to find and call. We could listen to the radio with a few mid-90s songs to help establish the time frame, along with the news of our actions, but that's about it. There's only one usage of a TV. As a result, there's a noticeable drop in atmosphere and immersion. It's a design decision that should have carried over. Done right, hub worlds can add so much to the game and make them something special. Well-constructed hubs like the original would have done so much if they were here as well. With that, let's get to the game itself and go through its major beats, so spoilers ahead. The game provides a previous on for a recap of the first game. Always appreciated. While I played these back to back, there was almost a 5-year gap between the games. It's not a simple recap as well. There's a lot of personality with it. Johnny Powell, a prominent character in the game, provides a summary.
None of these kids, they went way back. I don't think anybody would disagree that they were meant for each other. If anything, that's the real tragedy in all this. See, the mob was still after Jackie. Now, they thought the quickest way to get him would be to take away, his only reason for living. Killing Jenny was just about the dumbest thing the mob could have done. See, because without her, Jackie not only had nothing left to live for, he had nothing left to lose.
We start off with Jackie now as the boss of the Franchetti family, entering a restaurant for a night out. Despite the end of the first game showing that the darkness was taking control, Jackie's in control here. The darkness lays dormant within. This scene has that Goodfellas vibe when Henry enters the restaurant. Someone has put out a hit on Jackie and the restaurant comes under attack. With that, the darkness reemerges to save his life and off we go. It's pretty quick to hop into things and has an efficient exposition like the original.
Embrace the darkness, Jackie.
My friend!
I have to note the difference in the voice of the darkness. Mike Patton returns, still gives a great performance, but it lacks that same punch. It seems to be a mixing issue. In the original, you could feel like it was right there, right in your head, vibrating through your skull.
Human misery, suffer, disease of the mind and heart, festers here. It's a good place to die.
Here, it sounds like the darkness is more on your shoulder or a few feet behind you.
Yes! Rip them to pieces!
The past couple years have been tough for Jackie. Lots of pressure being the head of the family. Sounds like he's been doing a lot of drinking and smoking.
Aunt Sarah always said I was a smart kid. She tried to tell me, Jackie, either you control your fears or they'll control you. And I tried to control them, believe me. I tried. But every night, there I was, hiding under the sheets, trying to convince myself that whatever was out there wasn't real. Thank God I outgrew that shit, huh?
Jackie now has a different voice actor, one who would do the same voice for BJ in the Machine Games Wolfenstein series. Most of the returning cast here have different voice actors. That said, I didn't find it to be much of an issue. The death of Jenny still weighs heavy on Jackie. He keeps a shrine for her back at his crib. Press E to light a candle for her in a sweet little moment.
I saw you again today. In the alley. Down on the tracks. I still see you. Everywhere I go.
You torture yourself with her memory, Jackie.
Much better than pressing F to pay your respects. Pursuing his assassins, we end up in a subway station. Seeing Jenny on the track, an oncoming train hits Jackie.
Jenny!
Dance with me, Jackie.
With that, we're off to this game's equivalent of hell, or in the mind of the darkness. It's a mental hospital. I do appreciate that's not some super dark asylum or anything, but members of the family are here. Some are patients, some are staff. Jenny is a nurse.
Jackie, I'm so glad you're back on your med cycle. It's a very positive sign.
There's some pretty funny stuff here going on with the crew as patients. Most notable is Dolfo. Here, he has one of the O's swapped for an A, going by Adolf.
Mental note to self. Never again open up a war on two impossible fronts. And never again go within 150 miles of Moscow during the winter. Advance in pincer formation until you get to Paris. And don't speak to the Bolsheviks. When you are done, I will help you again. For the fatherland! Czechoslovakia as a nation has ceased to exist!
Hey, calm down, or you're going back to your room.
Stalinist.
We'll make several stops here throughout the game. That said, there's no real gameplay during these sections. We'll walk around and talk. It's not like the trenches during the original where we dealt with enemies along the way. The game is short enough as is, so to have these stretches of decent length without gameplay is a bit of a letdown. If I wanted that, I'd play a first-party Sony game. We can find relics throughout the levels that give more insight into the darkness. Johnny Powell narrates these.
Oh, wow. You seriously have a copy of the True Revelation? I'm impressed, Jackie. Didn't Peggy as the reading type. To call this book rare would be laughable. Magic swords, true love, steak. These things are rare. The True Revelation is one of a kind. I'm not exaggerating. Every copy is completely different. See, the True Revelation is actually the Revelation of John, the Bible's explosive summer blockbustering finale.
I have to note Johnny's eccentric behavior, digging deep into this world, the occult, and relics. He gets very close to crossing that line of Borderlands-style dialogue with the way he speaks. Granted, he's the only one who talks in this style.
I can keep a secret. Just let me go and I won't breathe a word. Scout's honor. It's cool. Don't get stressed out. Don't get stressed out. People always see value in what they don't understand. They always see value. That's why we went to the moon.
And while Jenny is dead, we do get plenty of screen time with her, even beyond the trips to the mental hospital. These are enjoyable scenes after stretches of frantic combat. While nothing comes close to the moments they had in the original game, I'm glad we get to spend more time with them together.
I asked Giancarlo if I could take your birthday off. He tried to give me a hard time, but I gave him the Bambi eyes, and he caved. He says he's even going to bake you a cake. I was thinking maybe you could come over to my new place and we could watch a movie or something. Hello? Earth to Jackie? Are you okay?
Jenny, is this real?
Yeah, you and me, young and in love. Face it, you lucked out.
Our search takes us to a brothel to take a look into the new owners. It's here we discover the Brotherhood of Darkness, or just the Brotherhood as they go here. After getting hit by a flash of light, their leader Victor captures Jackie. He's using a siphon to drain the darkness from Jackie, yet Jackie refused to give it up.
Don't talk and don't think. Just listen. You've been keeping something that was once lost. Something that doesn't belong to you. Now you have to choose to give it back. What happens to you is of secondary concern. I only care about one thing. I want the darkness.
The Brotherhood are in the midst of attacking our home. We get one of those lame, make a choice of which of your friends the bad guys kill. A choice between a couple of our crew that we've spent a little time with. It feels tacked on, like an order from a higher up since this was in style at the time. Then the darkness raises the stakes. Jackie must protect the darkness as he holds the soul of Jenny.
Do my bidding!
Escaping the brothel, we head back home. It's under attack by the Brotherhood. This is where the game ramps up on enemies with light sources, including flash grenades. That said, why not come during the day instead? Jackie with those powers have made this a lot easier to deal with. We're unable to save Aunt Sarah, and we end up back at the mental hospital. Yes, we know this isn't real, but the game does a great job of planting a tiny seed of doubt.
I've heard from your nurse that you're getting worried about your medication again. Do you understand why you take the medicine, Jackie?
I'm not crazy. This is just an illusion.
If you know it's an illusion, you could make it go away. But we've had this discussion before. You can't make it go away, because it is not an illusion.
Don't you see what's happening, Jimmy? The darkness is inside our heads.
You mean the voice you hear, Jackie? The one that makes you do bad things? Does that seem reasonable to you?
We head to the cemetery to pay our respects to Aunt Sarah. No chance to press E or F to pay our respects before the Brotherhood attacks.
I want you to know I think you're...
One other addition to Combat in the Darkness 2 are bosses. They're okay, nothing to write home about. Most consist of damaging the boss for a time, deal with their wave of goons, rinse and repeat. Back home, we could get Johnny to give a big lore dump, bringing up the Angelus.
You saying one day this broad's gonna show up wanting to kill me?
Yep, yep. Makes you feel any better. You're not the first guy to be in this situation, and you definitely won't be the last.
Terrific. Thanks again, Johnny.
No problemo.
We pick up the trail to head to an abandoned theme park to track down Victor and the Brotherhood. At this point, we're getting near the end stretch. Feels like an act of the game got cut. One thing I haven't mentioned until now is the addition of a co-op gameplay mode. Something that offers some fun, but would have been fine remaining on the cutting room floor. The original had a similar issue, a multiplayer mode that wasn't the main focus. I wonder how many resources this ended up taking away. They did have plans for a hub world, but were cut for time. Of all the cuts they had to make, the hub was the biggest loss. This is where the game goes all out and throws everything it can at you. It's where the game's best combat stretches lie. There are some flashbacks with Jackie and Jenny at the carnival, Jackie being an ace shot to win Jenny a prize, Jenny none the wiser of Jackie's line of work.
Who knew you were so good with a gun?
I like the use of songs from Jane's Addiction and Blind Melon here in the background. It helps to establish that time frame of the early to mid 90s. Then we end up with one of the more infuriating cases of cutscene competence I've come across in a while. Jackie walks up to an Iron Maiden and opens it because the game demands us to. Of course, Victor is right there behind us, using the siphon to trap us within the Iron Maiden.
Comfortable? This ancient relic can hold you for as long as it takes to drain the darkness from you. And then we'll burn what's left of you alive.
Why couldn't Victor knock us down first and have his goons toss us in? There was no reason for Jackie to open this up. We have another trip to the asylum.
Oh, Jenny. Oh, Jenny. Where are you? Jackie, I'm right here, Jackie. I work down the hall. Oh, Jenny. I love you so much. I've been so mopey without you. You sure have. Kiss me.
Oh, Christ. This place better not be real.
To get out, we have a janitor who resembles someone we know to help us escape.
Here you go. Come on. We ain't got much time.
Wait a second. Don't I know you?
Now, don't be afraid, Jackie.
I'm not afraid. I'm pissed off.
About fucking time, eh? Close the door. Now, turn around. Hello, monkey!
Now trapped in the Iron Maiden, we take control of our Darkling in the dreaded forced stealth sequence. Easy enough, but something the game didn't need. Victor drains the darkness from Jackie. We need to get back to save Jenny's soul. We backtrack the stealth path as Jackie, this time no darkness powers on hand. We find his dad's office and his gun. This is where I get confused. He knew his dad for a time. Shouldn't his dad have died when he was born? I always assumed he ended up in the orphanage and never knew his father. There might have been some conversation I missed here. Granted, the games could play loosey-goosey with the lore. We get the darkness back, kill Victor, and head to hell to save Jenny's soul. But there's one more trip to the asylum. This time around, Victor's one of the doctors.
Doctor, I'm afraid Jackie is experiencing the severe withdrawal from his medication. He says the darkness is back talking to him again. He thinks he may be in hell.
You're not a doctor. You're the head of the Brotherhood. And you're dead.
It's okay, Jackie. You've had an episode. The voice you think you hear is just your brain playing tricks on you.
Our Darkling sacrifices itself to let us free of the asylum. It's here where the game gives you a decision, one that changes the next stretch. The staff, especially Jenny, believe with Jackie that this is all real.
You're just some kind of trick of the darkness. You're not the real Jenny.
Jackie, listen to me. There is no darkness. You don't have special powers. If you jump, it's over. You die. Heaven or hell, you're gone. I don't want to lose you. We want you to get well again. You've got to take your medicine.
So we're given the choice. Stay with Jenny and live in this delusion, or reject the asylum and see what lies in store. A bit of a weak choice that comes down to a button press, but better than the previous one.
I want to be with Jenny.
We end up in hell in a pretty short stretch. You think there would be a final boss here that tries to stop us from freeing Jenny. There is none, only a gauntlet of enemies. And with that, Jenny's soul is free.
Jackie, you did it.
I didn't mean for this to happen. Any of this.
Shh. We don't have much time.
Everyone lives happily ever after, right? Nope. After the credits, we press E to let go. Remember the Angelus we learned about earlier? This is where she comes into the fold.
I love you, Jackie Estacado. No matter what happens, I always will. I'm so sorry.
Sorry? Jenny, I'm the one who should be... Jenny?
We are the Angelus. The world has gone too long without my light. It's been so long.
Where's Jenny?
Don't worry. She's still in here. And after all you put her through, she still loves you. But she knows what must be done.
Give her back to me.
Don't you understand, Jackie? Jenny's soul wasn't the only thing trapped here. It was you who gave her to me.
I won't fight you.
What makes you think I'm even going to give you the chance? You have become too powerful a host, caused too much suffering. You and it are now where you belong.
No.
Now talk about a cliffhanger. Jackie is stuck in hell. Of all the women that the Angelus could use as a host, it's using Jenny. Could the stakes get any higher and more personal for Jackie? It's a great setup for The Darkness 3, which has never seen the light of day over 11 years later. Rumors here and there throughout the years, but nothing concrete. Digital Extremes have expressed interest, although they have been busy with Warframe. As mentioned earlier, Night Dive Studios have expressed interest in a remaster of the original, opening it up to a wider audience. Whether that will lead to anything or not, we'll have to wait and see. Because there's still plenty in the tank for this series. It's only had a couple of entries. There's so many directions it could go, whether a reboot or continuing after the second's cliffhanger. It's one worth visiting if you haven't, especially the first game. It scratches a niche that few games can. The sequel, while a downgrade, does have its merits and moments. The series as a whole is one of the more enjoyable and overlooked of the 7th generation, one that I'm hoping to see emerge from the darkness once again. Thanks for watching.
The keys, they click and clack around, but never do they stack. Now here comes Jackie back again, trying to escape. He says he's rich and powerful and really, really great. The voice inside says kill them all, and I think he just might. He's off his rocker, off his meds, Nurse Jenny better hide. But he peed his bed and shaved his head. He's been in better shape. Thank you very much. You're too kind. Don't forget to tip your waitress, tip your nurse,